Okay, once we've done that, and we can, we're going to see that we have our basic Kubernetes cluster up and running. We will, next, we will configure the networking between the dedicated environment and your local environment. And let me pause and pull up Robot, and we'll take a look at that. So over here, the key to this is that this ID, one of the things that was confusing for me that I made a mistake on is this ID is the ID that you're using in all of the net plan maps on the dedicated machines. You're not using the 38056 vSwitch. So over here, it shows this 38056. And so that may seem like this is the ID that you use, but that's wrong. That's not the ID you use. You use the one that's here on the Robot side. That's the important thing to use there. So that is, so what you do is over here, you click vSwitch connected, and then it's going to give you a choice, and you're going to pick that. And that is basically all there is to do. And then here it will say show configuration, and it shows an example of what you need to do, what you need to configure on the dedicated server side, because basically you need to give each dedicated server an IP address from this address space. So let me pause, and then I'll pull up a net plan and show how that works. Okay, so this address, basically you're looking for network configuration. So when you buy a dedicated server from Hetzner, they use something called install image, which is a little script that runs, and that will, by default, use NetPlan to configure the IP address and password stuff. All of this, you can do all sorts of things with it. It's a little overwhelming, but to show an example of one of these, basically what you have is you have etc netplan 01 netconfig. That will have the IP address. The IP address is with a /32, and the routing basically looks like this with onLink true. And by the way, you should see this. You should see a version of this in your system. So this isn't really going to change. That should look all the same as long as this net config is existing. The big thing you need to do is this VLANs here. And what you're going to do basically is it should be the same name as the port, and with a dot, and then the vSwitch ID that is the Robot vSwitch ID that we talked about. Then you have the ID link. You set the MTU to 1400. That's important because I guess there's overhead in the virtual LAN, so we don't want a regular size packet. We want it a little bit smaller. We're going to give it an IP address, and you have to manage these out of your address space. And then you're going to route to the 10.0.0.0 network via 10.0.1.1, because the first address is always taken for the router that's connected between you and the other side. So, and then per the README, how you configure these is you basically run, you'll edit the YAML file, then you run this sudo live netplan generate, and then you restart the networking service. And so that is essentially how you configure these. And basically what I've done is I've gone through, and each one of them I've just kind of assigned them sequentially IP addresses. And then once you do this, you want to make sure that it is that you're able to ping. So you'll get one of the IP addresses of your one of your nodes, and I don't want to show that here, but basically you get the IP address of one of these, and then you'll ping that to make sure that it's reachable and that everything is working kind of back and forth from that perspective. Latency should be really, really low as long as your robot and your cloud are in the same location, and sub 1 or 2 milliseconds. And so another thing that's important to remember here is that if you're configuring Postgres and Redis and Elasticsearch, whatever kind of database layer you're using, in particular with Postgres, you need to configure the PG-HBA file to allow connections from 10.0.0.0 so that you can get access to those resources from within the cloud environment. So if you need, for example, you don't know what machine you're running, you can get you can find out what operating system you're running here, and then this command will let you determine whether you're running system D or syscontrol, system control. You almost all the time should be running this within the Hetzner environment, but if you're running on a very old dedicated server, it may be different. So so then the key here, and kind of the step that you want to take again, is you want to configure dedicated servers that need to be connected, and you want to make sure that the system is set up in such a way that you can ping back and forth between both sides. And so if you have any questions about that, ask away, and we'll move on to the next video, which is setting up traffic and the front end ingress.